Ah, brilliant.
You've got to find this. I used to make a joke of the, you know, they used to crowd the beaches so you couldn't see where the sand was and where the sea was. So I put signs up to say sand and beach. And in there I've hidden a cockroach, and I challenge you to find it. So I used to do one of these a week until I did one that they didn't pass. I got fired because it was too rude for the Chinese.
Do you have it?
It may be in here. Yeah, there it is. I want to show. There was a thing in the news. That was a typical one. It was about this guy who'd been in a bar and he'd been presented with a bill for $1,000 and he only bought 5 drinks. And so it was in the news, so I did this cartoon, but they don't like exposing their tits, the Chinese. It's taboo for them. So I got fired for that, for doing that one. Oh yeah, you can see there, in the early ones you can see the cockroach. Can you see it in that one? That one's not so easy.
Yeah, I see it there.
Where did I put my...
Yeah.
Where did I put my glasses? Must have left them downstairs. And so that we used to get phone calls. Where have you hidden the cockroach this week? We've tried and we've tried and we can't find it. Please tell us where you've hidden the cockroach. This week. I got on the plane. I'd never flown before, so I had to go down to London in the train. Yeah. Get on the plane from London, and there was 6 inches of snow that morning. We got on the plane in London, and we stopped in Bangkok, and it was 40 degrees when they opened the plane doors, and woof! This hot air was like being in a drying cupboard. This hot air came in. I'd never been in such heat before. I didn't know such heat existed. And then, of course, we flew on to Hong Kong. And as we were coming in, we hit an air pocket and went, like that. Down, dropped 2,000 feet in about 3 seconds. And the drummer, he'd flown a lot before, and he was sweating. Oh, his hands were sweating, and the sweat pouring out. He was really killing himself. And anyway, that was my introduction to flying. Yeah. And when you're coming into Hong Kong, about 2 miles off, you can smell the Hong Kong palm, they call it. I think they've cleaned it up by now, but in those days it it was pretty disgusting. The Kai Tak airport had open nullahs down the side of the runway, and I remember a China airline plane slid off the runway into the nullah. You know what a nullah is? It's a drain, a big open drain with sewage, full of sewage.
Yeah.
A China airline plane went in there and 51 people died. Not because of the crash, but because of the toxic sewage. We went on some amazing events in Hong Kong. There were two bands on. There was a band on, and we were supposed to take over from them at half time. Well, we were waiting in the lounge, so they just said, "Help yourself to drink." So the waiters came and we started drinking in, and then the other band never stopped. They just kept going. We were waiting for them to stop. Then we were going to go do it. The other band never stopped, and so we just kept drinking, and we drank the bar dry. We drank the whole bar dry, and I remember Benny, the trumpet player, falling over the back of a chair, an armchair, and all we could see were his 2 legs and 2 feet sticking up. And so he was over and out, and so we were all paralytic by the time they eventually came through and asked us to play, but we were gone by then. And the other band said we never came to take over, so they blamed us, and we blamed them. And it was all an alcoholic haze.
Did you play
But we never got asked back again.
Did you play the set?
No.
No.
they fired us. It was difficult to get taxis. The ones you did, taxis were so cheap. There was peanuts, and that we could get anywhere. So we used to go. There was a racetrack in Happy Valley. That's on Hong Kong Island. Although I didn't speak, they didn't speak Cantonese in that village. They spoke their own dialect. It was a Chinese fishing dialect. But I knew there was a lorry driver that used to come into our club and do imaginary juggling in front of the band like this with imaginary balls. Anyway, he lived in this village. I found out. I saw him. So, but I met this. I've actually got a picture of that guy in one of his books. I've got a picture of him juggling. It's just incredible. We played at the Macau Jazz Festival as well, and that was showing in Macau. That was the band when we played in Macau. And that was how I was feeling the morning after. Anyway, so we used to go to the Hong Kong Sevens to watch the rugby, which was a great occasion every year. And one year, this famous Australian stripper would streak round the pitch until the police caught her. Anyway, she came into our club and took off her top and threw her top into the crowd. And later that night, I got stuck with her. I had to walk her home because no one else would go near her. Because she didn't know where she was staying. So I walked her home that night. So I had a celebrity. She was on the news, and she was in all the papers, Sunday papers, streaking seconds. And while I was there, I used to write my own tunes on the mandolin. I've been writing tunes ever since then. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I've written.
Let's hear one.
I've written some. Kuala Lumpur, we had. They put us in the wrong place when we first went there. They put us in a disco.
Right.
And we were a jazz band.
Oh,
you know,
of course.
so
Yeah.
we played that disco for two weeks, and actually the kids didn't notice. It was just that we were just a band. And we went up to the paddock, which was the very top floor of the Hilton Hotel, and we played up there. And there were 40 musicians in the hotel, living in the hotel. So a whole floor of the hotel was musicians. So we used to spend, after the gig, we would accompany famous people in the shows, because we were the house band, right? So one day we played for the royal family of Malaysia.
Oh, wow.
He was a prince, and he had about 20 wives with him. They had a lot of wives. They were allowed to. Mm-hmm. You had to be on your guard, and you had to watch that you didn't offend him by playing the wrong tunes, you know. Anyway, we were at we could use the pool outside, and we got 2 free meals a day, so we didn't need to pay for food, or we got our laundry, we got our board,
so,
and we got well paid as well. It was amazing. And we used to use the pool in the afternoon. In the evening, we were in the restaurant getting our free meal, and then they started teasing me that I hadn't been out in the pool yet. I said, I don't want to go in the pool. I'm not a strong swimmer, and it's quite deep, you know. It's about 10 foot straight down. So I said, I don't want to do that. So they nagged me. And of course, the pool closed at 9, and this was about 9:30. I said, I finally got fed up with their nagging, and I said, right, that's it. And I walked out to the pool, stripped down to my underpants, and jumped in. And it's lit up at night, you know, you could see all the lights, you could see the edge of the pool. And as I was coming up, resurfacing, I could see 2 black shoes sticking over the edge, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? It was the night manager. It made me get out of the pool, and he sent me up to my room, but I had to waddle through the lobby of the hotel to the lift, with leaving a trail of water all through the lobby in my soaking underpants, carrying my clothes. And I got to the lift, and in the lift there was a cast of Paper Tiger. They were making a movie there at the time with David Niven, and I had to get in the lift, squash myself into the lift, all soaking wet, and I dripped onto David Niven's shoes, and he looked at me. He gave me a look that would have killed, you know. Anyway, that was an amazing time.
Terrorists.
Went into the Batu caves, and terrorists had been killing policemen and the police chief as well, but they'd been blowing up cars and killing. It was a bit, you know, it's a bit typical terrorism. But I don't know why they were doing it. Don't know why. Anyway, because I think it went back to the time when it was British, and the terrorists were hid in those caves because the military were looking for them. So the caves became their home, sort of thing, you know, their base, the terrorist base. Anyway, when we went into the visitors' part of the cave, we only got allowed so far, and we were warned you'd be shot if we went any further. So we didn't go any further. He turned out to be a con man, and we used to get an allowance to get our band uniforms, and we'd go to the tailor, and you could drink in the tailor all day for nothing as long as you're buying clothes. So it was like a free pub for us. So we used to go to the tailors a lot. We used to break our zips and then go and get them mended and get a drink all day for nothing.
Yeah.
And so this, we found out that we weren't getting our allowance, and we found out that the drummer was taking the allowance and opening up bank accounts with it, and then he would pay back the allowance from getting money from the new bank account. He then had an account so he could withdraw more money and then pay us back, and then open up another bank account. And this guy, we discovered that he turned up one day with a red Porsche outside the club, and he didn't have a car, and he'd been staying with his police inspector in his flat, and the police inspector was going back to UK for a month, so he said he could stay in his flat for a month. So he stole all his cards, used them all to open up bank accounts. He stole the Porsche and sold it. He came to our club and said that he was selling his car. He said it was his, but it was this police inspector. So you can imagine what happened when this police inspector came back. Well, he was gone then. He also was in charge of a 12-piece, no, it was an 8-piece Filipino band in one of the top hotels, and he took all their money. They didn't get paid. He took all their money and escaped on a Dutch ship. That's the last we heard of him. So for years afterwards, we used to get police inspectors sidling up to us in bars late at night and saying, "Have you heard from Rob yet? Have you heard from Rob?"
What was his name?
The drummer.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Rob. No, I don't remember. Just Rob something. And it was Interpol were after him. He'd been doing this all over the world, but before he met us, we didn't know this. And he had this fictitious wife, Shirley, and they used to have fights in late night bars, and we used to go around to watch them fighting. It was a big attraction. It's Rob and his wife. Hey, Rob and his wife are fighting down the road. So we used to go and watch them. And he said that she was his wife, and we believed him. But it turned out she was just all part of the con as well. They weren't married at all anyway. So I think they probably caught her, but he escaped. Last we heard, he was in South America, somewhere. But the Interpol are still looking for him to this day. So that was our first drummer. We all played, 2 or 3 instruments. We were all quite versatile. Except the drummer, he only played 2 instruments. The hi-hat and whiskey on the other hand. So he could play brushes and drink whiskey at the same time. And so he was stuck with just 2 things to do. Yeah. But we all had to change from the clarinet player Mike Greensell, who lives in California now. He played clarinet, saxophone, piano and bass. So we were able to swap around a bit, and I played banjo, bass, guitar and mandolin. So he played guitar as well. So we could do things with mandolin and guitar, and we used to do Zorba's dance. Everyone used to get up and dance on the tables. It was amazing. I used to play Lara's theme from Dr. Zhivago and the mandolin, and there was one time I was playing this tune, and over the speaker, sometimes it picked up taxis on the speaker. You know how that can happen. Yeah. You can pick up taxi intercoms. Anyway, I was playing Lara's theme, and over the intercom came Lara's theme with an orchestra backing in exactly the place I was playing at. it was like I suddenly had an orchestra backing me. I mean, what's the chances of that happening? It's millions to one. It was incredible. I was, you know, you couldn't arrange that. And it wasn't just the same tune, it was in the same place, in the same tune.
Wow.
And anyway, because the Vietnam War had just finished, and Hong Kong was full of entertainers out of work because they didn't know what to do. They just had fled Saigon, and we were during typhoons. If you were in a pub, the doors would be locked and you wouldn't get out till the typhoon left, maybe 8 hours later. And so there was one night we were all trapped in the pub, and I remember we were drinking margaritas, and there was this, the barman had gone to the toilet and he disappeared, and so we were saying, where's the barman, where's the barman? And there was a quiet wee guy who'd been sitting, so not saying anything, he'd been sitting at a table by himself, and he suddenly sprinted up onto the bar, and he was a contortionist, and he pulled his leg, he stood on one leg, pulled the other leg over his shoulder, twisted his foot round and spoke into it like a microphone and said, 3 margaritas, please. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I mean, he didn't fall. He stood on one leg on the bar. The bar's quite high, you know. Whew, that's amazing. So we got our margaritas. The barman came back and just said he couldn't believe this guy was standing on one leg, speaking into his foot. I mean, to twist your leg over your shoulder and then twist the foot round is amazing.
I'm running out of battery.
Oh, good. I've got to tell you about this. We used to stay, if you were at that time, they were only building. Righty. Before then, that's those are. You recognise Ian up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had when we had the riding school, I had gone out sometimes on rides out into country and to country pubs. Sometimes we would have too many beers at the pub and fall off a horse on the way home into a cactus bush, which I did once. So I was picking cactus bits out of my bum for weeks. So that's we made CDs in Hong Kong. That's the band. We had 3 or 4 of these, and we used to sell them. So when we went to Sacramento for the jazz festival, we took hundreds and hundreds of these to sell to pay for our flights. You see, so we thought we could we could pay for our flights if we sold. So we took hundreds and hundreds of these, and the American customs said, "Why are you taking so many of these?" They said, "Oh, we've got lots of friends in America. They've all asked for these." So, and they swallowed it.
Yeah.
On the plane in '85, on the way over, we all there was a sousaphone player. You know what a sousaphone is? It's bigger than a tuba. It's a huge thing. Yeah. That's a sousaphone. And that's my cartoon of the band in silhouette. He was a very good saxophone player. Amazing. Ding, bass, bass. And that's Benny. He fell over the chair backwards.
Yeah.
And that was me on bass. And the drummer. That was a different drummer then. That was for Roberto. Anyway, we were playing. We all were allowed one piece of hand luggage flying to America. So I took my banjo as hand luggage, and the trumpet player had his trumpet. So we all had an instrument. And halfway across the Atlantic, we asked the hostesses, would they mind if we played a tune? This was before 9/11. It was a lot freer then. So they said, yeah, they were up for it. So in order to get the sousaphone, that would have been too big to take as hand luggage. So we disassembled it, unscrewed it all, and we all carried a bit of it. so we were able to carry hand luggage, you know. So on the plane he has reassembled his sousaphone, put all the bits together, and we all got our instruments out, and we were all playing traditional jazz on the plane to America, and everybody was up dancing. And all the hostess was all dancing as well. We had a ball on that flight. It was amazing.
Hong Kong.
From Hong Kong.
Who's that thing?
Oh yes, I have. I've got my mandolin here. That banjo that I played there, it was from Hong Kong. I had that in Hong Kong.
All right, yeah.
And I've got this. This is my first mandolin that I had, and she's called Mandy.
Ah. Let's do another little session of that. Just a quick one.
This is an Italian Corso, flat back. It's a beautiful instrument. Beautiful, isn't it?
Oh wow.
So just hear the sound. It's just amazing. It's the old wood.
Yeah, it's cool.
You can't buy that. You can't get that sound on a new instrument. It's the wood. Thank you, Mandy. Now, Mandy's been everywhere with me.
Yeah, that's great.
I once left her on a bus.
Oh no.
and I realised I'd left her on the seat in the bus, and the bus was going round a roundabout, so I ran straight across the roundabout because I knew there was a bus stop just on the other side of the roundabout. I ran along, got on the bus, and Mandy was there. It's the closest I've ever come to losing her. If you go in there, you can see my cartoons. And I tell them to hunt the cockroach. Go on, they're round to the right. The monkeys one is one I liked. The one behind you there, that's the monkeys. Mobile.
Oh, yeah.
So that one of the monkeys is tickling the other one tickling him under his arm. So you can imagine what's about to happen.
Yeah, but you don't want to go through that anxiety then, because that'll set us out.
But my favourite cartoon of all is through here. That's my favourite one. It's that one there, the siege. It's all spaghetti and see they're all eating spaghetti and pizza. So that was the Great Wall of China. That's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs all eating pizza and spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
And that was the Greek one. Right.
Very good. Done like they were lost.
They were lost. A lot was lost.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it was amazing because, you know, after we finished playing in our club, you'd go out with maybe an instrument in your hand and you'd go around the bars and you could sit in, there would be bands in other bars and you could sit in and play someone there and have a few drinks and then they'd buy you a few drinks and then move on to another bar.